All right, good morning, everybody. It is Chris from The Rewired Soul, where we talk about the problem but focus on the solution. And this is my very first podcast slash live stream, and I am joined by the wonderful Tanya. How you doing this morning, Tanya?
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here this lovely Sunday.
I'm excited you're here. So real quick, I just want to let everybody know just how I met Tanya. So we actually met in an online Facebook group, and I don't know, did you hear about the Rewired Soul a while ago? Because I didn't even know you watched my videos.
So I think you posted one of your episodes in there, and I watched it. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is the truth. And I loved it. I think you really found a really authentic way to connect to your audience in a way that doesn't make it feel preachy, but really like you're trying to share what you've got. And so I just loved all your videos, and I've been following you ever since. And when I posted my comment about this topic, having watched so much of your content, I was like, I bet Chris would really be interested in this.
Heck yeah, it was. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love my ego being fed. No, I'm always just curious, who actually watches this stuff. But yeah, no, I saw Tanya posted something about Myers-Briggs personality types, and I hit her up, and I was just like, yo, I'm trying to do something. You want to send a video? And she got all excited, and I'm excited. So yeah. Let's start out real quick. Clearly, you are a woman in sobriety. Could you just, for all these people out here who do not know who Tanya is, can you just share a little experience, strength, and hope for the men and women out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I need to reintroduce myself. My name is Tanya. I have about 2.5 years. This summer I'll be 3, which is crazy. When I think about it too hard, my brain breaks a little bit. My brain is like, what the hell? But it's been an absolutely amazing journey. It's taught me so much. It's helped me heal so much. So many things that I didn't know that I hadn't really worked through properly the first time around, which I think has been one of the most amazing parts of this journey. And the second thing, the way my life looked before and the way my life looked after, is just a complete 360 trend. 180, 360 math. I will never tell you that math is it's a complete transformation. I really look at the way that I went into this. It was almost like a project. It was a real experiment. I went in with a lot of blind faith. I didn't know what I was going to get out of it, but it was clear that there were areas in which I was not showing up my best, and I couldn't figure out what the next step was. And I how to bring myself from here to there. Um, taking this journey has helped me become a real woman, and I stopped acting like a little girl, and it became someone I think of honor and credibility. um I show up completely differently now. And so beforehand, I mean, in almost every area, right? So my friendships were falling apart. They were all in passing. They were really shallow. I was a crappy friend. I would you never knew when I was going to show up to something, or how I was going to show up. My job, I was bouncing around from job to job. I couldn't find something that I like. I'd quit when things got hard. um, I was working at a really unfulfilling place for not all me, and I was also not creatively stimulated. And if you guys knew me better, that's my bread and butter. That's my soul. It's my whole reason for being here. And I was literally, I call it creatively constipated. I just couldn't make art anymore. And then
Yeah.
my family relationships was just a rock meeting a hard place. They were going nowhere. Romantically, I was I got to a place. I had done a lot of work on that stuff, but I had gotten to a place where I was finally okay being with myself. So a little bit of work there, but still wasn't my ideal. My ideal was not to be alone and okay forever.
Yeah.
So it really, and then going through this took me to a place, helped me get over that hump. It filled in all the gaps, and it was the missing piece that I was so blind to. Now my friends can count on me to show up. If I tell you I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there with my mind and my body, and I'm going to be there to support you, and I'm going to be happy and in a great place. And even if I'm not happy, I'll show up authentically. I think is more than we can ask some people.
Right.
Career wise, I have, and literally this job feels like it fell out of the sky. It was actually a giant mistake how I even ended up there, but it ended up being amazing. It's fulfilling, it's challenging, and it's crazy because I work with a population of people. When I was designing my next career goal, I wasn't sure where I wanted to work, what industry I wanted to work in, but I was super clear that I wanted to work with innovators and that I wanted to support them and be involved with that community. And I got exactly that. which is mind blowing to me. And
Right.
my job is challenging, but I can show up for it now. Like, and they can count on me to do things. And what were the other areas? Creatively, I moved across the country.
Hmm.
I am in Los Angeles currently, and I like attend my dream school. So in addition to this amazing job, like if I'm not at work, the other half of my life is spent training in dance at a professional program. Like that's amazing. I would have never been able to do that before. And then romantically, actually, I like someone who was really healthy. That was unbelievable. I'd never. It was a great experience. And relationships with my family, drastically different because I changed. I showed up differently. So
Hmm.
it really just this huge leap happened. And so that's like a little bit about my story. I hope that kind of sets the stage and brings some like context to this conversation and why these results that I mentioned in our video were so important because I had been seeing all of these, like I said, these like hard results of changing my consumption habits. But I had a feeling that something internal, something softer had also changed,
Mm.
but I had no way of saying for sure. Aside from people being like, I'll never forget, like a couple of months in, people were like, you seem different. Or something. This girl came up to me and she was like, just the light in your eyes is
Right.
back. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking. At that point, I was still not receptive to that, but I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't look any different. This is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Like that was, and that's one of the things. Like some of the people out there know. Like I work at a treatment center and stuff, and like, and people they get this idea that they can't change or they're stuck the way they are, and things are always going to be the same and stuff. And I had a similar experience. I'll never forget when I was a month or two sober. This guy who used to live in my sober living house, he saw me and he was like, dude, you're like changing. Because I was very isolative and introverted and didn't want to talk to anybody. I always had like that resting, whatever, yeah, whatever guy face it is. And he's like, yeah, you're like smiling and talking. And like, he was pointing it out. I'm like, are you sure? You know? But a couple things. So your clean dates in the summer. When'd you get clean in the summer? Like when's your 3 years?
My date, oh my God, I'm so bad at this. I always get so nervous when people ask me. I'm like, what was the year?
Right?
Uh, July 17th, and I think it would be 2015 if it's 2.5 years now,
Yeah,
right?
mine was June 23rd. I actually got clean on my
Oh,
27th birthday. That was a fun one.
wow.
But
That's that's impressive. That's really
yeah.
impressive. I get weird around my birthdays. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
no.
that's
Yeah, people say that, but like when I go into my story and talk about how my mom forced me into sobriety, like it wasn't like, you know what, I'm gonna do this for my birthday. Like, like I got forced and I was all angry about it. But like, oh man, there's so much. So let me do this. I'm gonna set a framework like this. Okay, so you're gonna have to lay this on me because I watched the video that you made like 3 times and I still don't get
okay.
everything. So
Sure.
you just talked about a lot of changes, and a lot of the changes were internal. Obviously, they taught me, and I think you learned the same thing. The people around me don't change. I'm the one who changes, and that's when the relationships start to change. So like, since I'm not a guru on the Myers-Briggs, like this, like I'm looking at this, so you went, so ENTJ, and then
Yeah.
ENTP, and like how do you feel like that shows a difference between who you were and like just the better, like how you are now fostering relationships, showing up to work, and all that kind of stuff? Can you break that down a little bit for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned it, so I'll like just go through the character.
Hmm? Oh wait. Oh, Tanya, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
there we go. There we go. Okay. Internet connections, fun. All right, go
All
for it.
right.
Break it down, girl.
So the letters in ENTJ are extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. The ENTJ type is actually, I forgot which website I read this on, so sorry for my credibility. But it's actually a pretty extreme type of personality. ENTJs can be a little bit severe. And as I mentioned in the video, extremely goal focused. They tend to be leadership oriented people. These are people who are not known for compassion, not known for mincing words either. If they're very direct, they've got something to say, they will most definitely say it. Thoughts are like a second thing, or like not thoughts. I'm sorry, thoughts come first. Feelings are like a second thought to these kinds of people. But they're incredibly effective. And they make really good project leaders because they'll be the people that jump into a hard situation head first and figure it all out. So there's a lot of benefits to being an ENTJ person. Unfortunately, your personal relationships may need a little extra TLC if you
Yeah.
people. I think this is also just indicative of my mindset, like pre-sobriety, like because it was very narrow. So, and I like didn't get a chance to dig into this deeper in the video because I didn't want to make it like super long. It's that narrow mindset, and what I mean by this is not that I wasn't open-minded. I'm like a very accepting person.
Mm-hmm.
But when I decided something was a way, that was it. There was no
Mm-hmm.
other possible truth. There was no other side to this. What I had decided, what I had thought, and usually backed up by like a lot of facts and evidence.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other possibility. Or and then also like the judging versus perceiving, which is that last letter, and I'll get to that in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's also discussing like how you orient towards goals and how you interact with opportunities. So the judging type is just right for their mark. And if they miss it, they will pull back and start again and just be relentless until they get what they want. The perceiving person is a little bit different. So the way that they like prospect and like orient themselves towards their goals is that they're like, okay, I want A. And on my journey to A, if like E, D, F, and G happen to fall in my path, like I'm going to take that also. Like I'm open to there being more possibility or
Mm.
something even better than I had initially expected. And so I look at like some of my past experiences and some of the work that I'd done, and just saw that there were so many chances, both for like personal interaction and other that come up that I was just
Oh, oh, the internet got
was
weird again. There we go. There we go. You're back.
okay. So I'd be like, I need to get this one single thing. I can't even focus on anything else. And then
Yeah.
also, I think just in terms of my the way that I like make decisions about topics, I'm always like, this is the way that I think about it now. I'm like, this is what I think. I'm like okay with that. Like not everyone has to agree with me now. Before I was like, well, since you don't agree, we're gonna be here a while I make you agree with me.
Yeah.
And I like that is like long gone. There, I don't think I can't think of a single topic now where like I feel so strongly about it that I have to like try to change someone's thoughts on it. Like I'm just so much more relaxed, as I noted, and
Yeah.
it's had a major effect on my interpersonal relationships. I think it's I have a much better time meeting and connecting with new people now because of that, and like really maintaining long term friendships. I think this shows up with like stable friendships over time. Like I can't imagine, and like so many of my friends were just saints when I think about the way that they put up with me
Hmm.
with some of the crap that I put them through. Like, oh God bless you guys, you're all amazing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so
And
crazy.
they know.
Like as you explain like what this stuff means, like I'm like, me too. Like, and it's crazy too because pre-sobriety for me too. Like, I I thought I was very open-minded and accepting and all these things, right? But like when I started going back, especially through the process of just me getting clean and a lot of it was looking at where a lot of my anger was coming from too. I started
Yeah.
seeing that as open-minded I was, there was these things, these hardcore beliefs that I had. You know what I mean? And this is right, this is wrong, and yeah, girl, like I get it. Like my relationships sucked. Like I often look back, like I was the type of guy, it didn't matter if you were my best friend, if you were my mom, if you were family, didn't matter. Like if we disagreed on something, like you're out of my life, like, you know, this is, and I would draw such a hard line in the sand, and then like looking back at it, I'm like, what was wrong with me? You
Exactly. Oh, you nailed it. So just the saying that hard line in the sand, exactly. Like ENTJs definitely that's like their practice. And like also like in respect to what they want, what they think, where they're supposed to be. Like if you don't fit, that's it. We're
yeah,
done. Now it's much softer. I mean, like I'm able to just say like it's okay, or like I know that this is me. Like even just accepting people where they're at, like and
yeah,
not trying to change them. I think is such a foundational change that comes with this last letter shift. So
yeah,
what's also interesting is like I still do test ENTJ and ENTP. So I get both results now. So it's sometimes a mixed bag. And I think what's interesting is I get to explore for myself, like what triggers that change and what brings that out, what brings out what certain sides of me. I think now my ENTP might be like my baseline, but I have the tap into my ENTJ when I need it. So that's also cool. Just having that choice, like anytime you have choice means you've got more power than you did before. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, and a lot of it, like I'm always talking about mindfulness and meditation and stuff, and just knowing when, like when this, and that comes with like setting boundaries too. Like I used to have a problem being a people pleaser, and like that, like I was a people pleaser, but I was also drawing these hard lines in the sand, and I was just an insane hot mess. So now I'm able to like be like, okay, this is a hard line, but this is more of a softer line over here. But let me ask you this too, like I often tell people, okay, here, I'm gonna share a story real quick, all right? Because I truly believe that people in recovery are some of the kindest, most compassionate people out there, It's just like when we go into our disease, like we get all crazy. But anyways, so I was in a hurry, like I went to a recovery picnic, and I was leaving, I had to go catch a flight, right? And I go to the parking lot, and this dude is pushing his car, it like broke down. And I like run over to go help him and stuff, and he's like, thanks, man. He's like, you got jumper cables? I'm like, first off, no, I don't. Second off, I gotta catch a plane. But good news is, if you look right over there, there's a huge picnic filled with people in sobriety, and I guarantee somebody will help you out over there. And like, I just left. I left. And like, I know at the bottom of my heart, like somebody helped that guy out, just because a lot of our recovery is learning how to be compassionate and empathetic towards other people. What happened for me was realizing how much I was judging other people, but I didn't want to be judged myself. You know what I mean? So like, my question for you is like, with that switch to the last letter, going from ENTJ to ENTP, like how much of that do you think was just being more compassionate and empathetic towards other people, like putting yourself in their shoes?
I think that's a great question. I really do think that, like, I mean, I think it has this, I think that's how it like kind of happened when I really think about it. So having kind of judgment clouded by like just different substances. And then like that being said, like if you're someone and you think like I either may have a problem or I really should slow down with how much I'm doing something, you have to understand it's not even just the times that you're using a substance, it's really all the times and that you make decisions in between is affected by your actions and habits. And so that's something that wasn't totally clear to me. So a lot of these softer benefits came out of that space, like that pocket. And that was like almost the richest benefits of this journey. So the trickle down effect. So when my judgment wasn't clouded or I wasn't cranky, I wasn't hungover,
Yeah.
I wasn't always like constantly maintaining this like very delicate internal homeostasis. Like, like you're constant, like think of when you're hungover, like you're hot, you need an Advil, you need more water, you gotta go to the bathroom. Like I'm like managing all of this stuff internally. Like I don't have time to think about you and your right. So much stuff that I'm already managing this morning. I just can't add you and your crap to my list. So like that goes away. And then I have like more time to think about how I'm interacting. Like, so I'd be short with people all the time. And I'd just like listen to them and I'd be like, okay, like you're telling me this problem with your boyfriend. Let's just get right to the point. You need to get a new guy. Like where now I need to be like, I understand this is where you're at in your life. And like, I'll ask, like, do you want my opinion? Do you want my help? Do you just want me to listen? Like, what do you want? So it trickles down in this way where I can actually hear people more and I have a chance to see them better because I'm not so self-obsessed. So, so it all trickles down and then that opens me up. And so once you have this like effect over time, it changes the way I think you like look and you like interact with things and you see the benefits of like really taking the time to listen and connect with people and be there with them. Oh, my computer just fixed itself.
Sweet. So like that, and that's something like, I'm so glad you talked about that too, because that's something I try to teach,
I don't know if that answered the question fully. Does that land?
Yeah, no. Absolutely. And like, I'm gonna expand on a little bit more too. Because, so for those of you listening who aren't familiar with sobriety lingo, like there's that dry drunk, right? We get sober, we get clean, and we don't change any of our behaviors. And like some people can manage that, but more often than not, they can't. A lot of people, like for me during my journey of working on my mental health, my recovery and stuff, like I luckily had a lot of people in my life who said, hey, guess what, Chris, the rest of the world isn't the problem, you're the problem. And that was kind of crazy because I'm like the smartest guy ever and I know everything and I'm the kindest and I'm all these things, right? But then when I start, and I and like I try to convince people to like start writing and stuff, because even if they're not doing the traditional kind of recovery method, just writing down like, what are you feeling, where are these emotions, where are these thoughts coming from? That's why I love meditation too, because it just quiets down all the noise, like you were just talking about, like especially when you're hungover. Like my thing was alcohol and pills, and like when I was coming down from either of those, you know, even with my son, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, get to the dang point. Let's figure, like, you know what I mean? Or it's just, like, figure it out on your own.
Like, please, for the love of God, I just want to lay down. Like, stop talking.
Right? And, like,
wrap this up quick.
yeah. And, like, yeah, especially if, like, you caught me, like, on my way to the liquor store or something. It's like, all right, Grandma, like, let's hurry this up.
You're on schedule. Like, I got a place to be.
Yeah.
Really, it's really important, you know?
Like, let me ask you this, like, how do you listen better, you know, within your relationships now? Like, how do you, like, going from the judging, because that's something that I found, maybe I'll share a little bit about that. I found myself, whenever somebody was talking, I was already thinking of my answers or where they were wrong, and like, I wasn't fully listening. I was developing an opinion before they were even done talking about their problems, their issues. Yeah. Like, how have you become like a better listener to be more compassionate? Like, was that a struggle at first, or like, how's that? The short
lesson is humility. That's the short of it. Like, I became like, this process humbled me a lot, and not in the, I hate when humility, or like, they're like still arrogant but humble. And they're like, I am. It really did. Changing this habit of mine broke me down in every way, and it surfaced things about me that I thought I had buried, or I thought I had finished, and it showed me just how fallible and just how human I was, and I had no choice but depend on the help and the kindness and the advice and the sunshine of other people, because could no longer provide it for myself when I was no longer leaning on all my crutches. And like, I can't emphasize enough that, like, getting rid of whatever substance you might be using is really just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the first piece of the puzzle. Once you pull that out, you can get to everything else. And so, like, I kind of touched on this in the video, but I was like, it's often not the substance that's the problem. And like you've clearly stated, it's the way that you interact with it. It's the way that we act. All of our things. I love when people say, like, all of our best thinking got you here.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so clear. Once I really understood that, it's become more, like, a lot more humble, and also just more open. I also kind of had this air of like, what could you tell? I'd seen a lot. I'd been through quite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people's advice never helped me before. People have hurt me really bad. Like, why the hell should I listen to you? Like, who are you to tell me how I should do something? I realized that, you know, the people, like, that's just such a flawed way to look at the world. It really is. Yeah. And it cuts you off and it, from everything. And then, like, that kind of humility, that willingness to listen, and to just make yourself small and like a party to someone else's growth and transformation. You see really that ENTJ melt into that ENTP personality type, which is fantastic, I think.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this. This is something that I'm just always curious about, and I often look at my own journey with this one. The way I relate it to people, like when I'm working with them, is like, you know, in my journey, like, I noticed a lot of people were just setting a bar, like, okay, sobriety, cool, that's my bar, right?
Yeah.
But like, I was motivated to do more. Like, I realized that just being sober didn't mean that I wasn't a bad son, a bad father, a bad friend, a bad boyfriend, all these other things. Like, what motivated you to do more than just get clean and work on your own compassion and way of thinking and way of doing things? Like, what motivated you to put in some work, really?
Yeah, well, I was always clear that was the purpose for me. So I think what actually really brought me to like the conclusion that I needed to change this one thing, or there was nothing else in my life that hadn't been changed in some way, except for this one thing that was just so below my radar. Like I just did not. Also, like when I first made this change, I was living in Manhattan, and it's really, I feel like it's very part of the culture there, to go
Mm,
out and partake in these kind of activities. And like I live in LA now, and like it can even kind of, and like that's no excuse. So first of all, if you're listening to this, you need to understand that whoever you are and whoever you're being means you're going to attract a certain type of event or people. So you need to be clear on that. So I'm super clear also that like where I was and who I was being was attracting these kind of experiences and events and people that were like enabling my behavior. But that being said, different places do have different characteristics and traits. And like just by nature of being in LA, there's a huge health scene out here. I feel like everything is green, everything like my envelopes are freaking organic. Like it's just there's more options here. Like people like on a Sunday morning might not like I mean brunch is pretty big here, so don't let me misspeak. But like you're more inclined to like go to the beach, go hiking, and like. But also like when I was still like actively drinking, I would be the person to be like, oh, we're going hiking, I'll bring the beers, or like, well, we're going to the beach, I was like, I'll make the margaritas, like
yeah.
So again, that's what I mean. Like you're talking in the camera, like you hear it. You need to know that if you're not sure, if you're on the fence, or you're like making the excuse, or like everyone does it. It's not. It's you.
Yeah.
So like that, I know. I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
What motivated you to raise the bar higher than, yeah.
That was, I was always clear there was more. And so the place that I was at, like, right, and I'll never forget it. Where I had like, I didn't really have a very clear, like, there was like a gap between my like come to Jesus moment and like
Uh,
actually making the decision. But I think it's so much sat down and like put my head in my hands, and I was like, this is not what I want to be doing.
mhm.
I was like, there's so much more that I have to give. And there's so many people that I can help, and there's things that I want to change. And I am it, and I can't, no matter how much I punch and fight and claw, I just couldn't break out of the place that I was stuck in. And I was like, what? I was like, clearly I'm missing something. What am I missing? And I think I was like speaking out into the air. I was like, what is the next step? I was like, show me the next steps. And
Mhm.
boy, did my ass get those steps.
Yeah. And like, so how much of that came from, like mentors or people who you felt like were happy and they had the things that you wanted, like how much of
Oh,
that came from like, a support system of people who knew more than you thought you knew?
more than I thought. Well, at first I was totally bewildered. My like meeting a new community of people. Hated them all for their happiness and like
Right?
true
Yeah.
happiness. If you know anyone that, I mean, if they're doing it right, usually, if you know anyone that has recently like made a change and decided to get sober, these are like the happy. Can I curse? I don't want to curse. Like they're
You do
like
whatever you
the
want, girl.
happy friggin' people you have ever met, like, and the most grateful at
Hmm.
like, they will do anything. Like, you want them to sweep up crap, you want them to like shovel garbage. They will be so happy to do it. And I was just like freaking happy. Clear that that was going to be my result. What I was going to get, I had no idea what I was going to get, but I just knew I needed to do something to get to that next level. I wanted a job that would allow me to contribute to the world in a different
Hmm.
way. I needed creating again. I just am clear that that's like my medicine. Like when I'm not doing that, like something inside me festers and just goes bad, and like
Yeah.
it's like really truly. And so I was like, I have to be doing that. I'm going like sick and stale inside, and so I didn't even know I was gonna be happier. But I was like totally willing to live the life of like a sober nun. As long as I could just get to like that level of contribution that I felt like I need. It was like a burning inside of me.
Yeah. Hold on, it cut out. Wait. You're still there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, there we go.
I said that like that inner burning and desire to do more, or that there was a purpose that I was meant for that I wasn't serving, guided me forward despite all of the confusion I created around myself and all of the, what's the word, chaos, no, unmanageability
Hmm.
that I had created in my life. Through all of that nightmare, I still had something inside of me that was like, you can do better. get it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too. Like, yeah, I always felt like, I don't know, from a young age I was destined to do great things, and I gotta keep my own humility, and I'm doing what people did for me and stuff like that. And I think that's like this weird kind of paradox that so many people in addiction get stuck in, because they can be better, they know they can do better, but they can't, and yeah, it feels like this just like weird kind of fight, like we're just stuck in, like, I don't even know, like this crazy room where we know we can, but we just can't, and then we find this better way. And it's funny too, like real quick, Tanya and I, we were just chatting the other day. I was telling her how like angry I used to be in early recovery, like when people were like happy and smiling. Yeah, when somebody was like cleaning out ashtrays or making coffee or something, and like, oh yeah, and they would come like greet me and give me a hug. I was furious. Like, I always wish that people would understand how angry of a person I was in early recovery, because if they knew where I came from to where I am now, they'd be like, you know what, I need to do whatever that guy did, because I was just so angry. I hated other people's happiness. But we got a couple minutes left, so let me ask you this. Talk to me just a little bit about what's your website doing, and what kind of, like, I was going through your website, girl, and it seems like you're doing a ton of amazing stuff, and you have done amazing stuff. Like, what should people come visit your website for?
Sure, absolutely. So I think I do like a wide varied amount of projects. So things you'll find on my, interested in dance, I post my favorite dance projects and videos there. You'll find them there. And I do, this being said, I have to like dust off the cobwebs on my website a little bit and tune it up. But you'll find some of my favorite creative projects there. You can take a look at them. If you like them, if you have questions, if you got feedback, you want to share, if you want to like discuss them critically, like send me an email, shoot me a Facebook message. I'd love to talk about them. Also, you'll find I do a lot of community-based like projects. I'll usually be involved. I'm either speaking. I do a lot of work talking about domestic violence, specifically as it relates to teens. I've done a lot of work with teens and myself, and so I think recently, um, community thing.
Hmm.
And then just some writing, a couple more things specifically on the path of an artist and what it's like to kind of walk that path. So if you're interested in that, you can come check all that stuff out. Or if you just want to follow me and see what I'm up to, my Instagram is my website, we'll start there, is tanyaantonio.com, TANYA, common spelling of Antonio, probably like your favorite pizza place.com. And my Instagram is at the world needs artists, all spelled normally. And I go to a lot of museums when I travel. I go to museums here. I love posting photos of art. It's my favorite thing to look at. I love bright colors. So if you like that, go on over there.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for being my very first guest on here. And I hope we could do some more stuff soon. We're going to, just to let you know. I'm making you. So that's going to happen. So everybody who's been listening, thank you so much. And yeah, and go check out Tanya's website, because I was blown away when I saw it. So you should go be blown away too. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, Tanya. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Thank you. Bye.